This is the Above Average Podcast, and you are listening because you want an above average life.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Above Average Podcast, the podcast where we talk to above average people about their above average lives. Now, my guest today is a high energy builder in every sense of the word. He's made it his mission to inject energy into people to cut through the noise, ensure that you don't need to be broken or at rock bottom to start changing your life. He believes action is the answer, that motivation is misunderstood, and that success looks different for everyone. He's also a husband, a father of two, and someone deeply curious about what actually makes a fulfilled life. So please welcome Mr. Scott Finlay to the show. How are you, mate?
Appreciate that. Thank you. Good.
Yes,
the energy's good.
Thank you for making it here, mate. I appreciate it. Two hours to get here, was it?
2 hours, about two and a bit. Yeah, but yeah, like you say, when you've got a good enough reason to be here, then you know.
Just to see me, mate.
That's
all.
exactly, you know
Doesn't matter if the podcast's good as long as we get together. That's all good.
Yeah.
So, mate, I always take my guests back a little bit to sort of their early childhood. So, just so we can get a bit more knowledge about you.
Yeah.
So, growing up, you always a high energy type of person. Do you think it was a useful trait in your youth, or did it come with a kind of maybe it's a bit more of a negative connotation back then?
I mean, for me, just in general, I don't understand why people wouldn't want that trait. In the sense that it just, and this you can be perceived as high energy as in too much in the face of some people.
Especially as a kid, like you get labelled as the boisterous one or the wrong 'un kind of thing. Yeah,
exactly. And I mean, sometimes that I think I maybe got that image because my hearing problems, and I didn't wear my hearing aids as much as I should have. So for that reason, obviously, I was always quite out there with things. But when I look back now, obviously I'm a lot older. I honestly believe that these certain little steps that I was taking in life built up the confidence that I've got today. So hence that some conversations I would just miss certain elements of it, and it would make me look a bit more daft or immature than what I was. But I found that resilience to bounce back, to ask more questions, to just be more intrigued. The curiosity was always still there. I wouldn't just sort of crawl into a little shell. But I honestly think that for me especially, but that's when I think that, well, it doesn't have to be me, just because I've got a hearing impairment. I feel as though if everybody's got that you know, can-do attitude, just want to go out and live with their best energy, then, you know, why would you not want to do it?
Yeah, because obviously, like I said, like because I had a few kids in school, and I think even, how old are you now, mate?
38.
30, yeah, you look good, mate. You look very good for your age. I look like I've been through a harsh paper round at 29. But like when I was in school, I don't think even, you know, I was in school like the 2000s. It wasn't a massive thing like ADHD or anyone high energy was sort of seen as like whether a problem child or they kind of get excluded a little bit. Did you find that when you were in school? Were you excluded because of your high energy or?
Not necessarily, no. It's I mean, that's it. Just when I try to look at how the world's going now, and you know, again, without getting too far into my beliefs as to how people should start living their life, but obviously ADHD, there's a lot of it out there and a lot of people, but I feel as though there's other reasons that overstimulation, our phones, technology, that's got a big part to play. But back then, I wasn't really, there was no link between it, you know, nobody ever labelled me in that sense to say, well, is there an issue with Scott? I think it was literally everybody realised that I've got a hearing impairment, that if I can't hear and I'm just going off on one, it's simply down to that. But I think structure's a big thing for everyone as well. And I do, when I was younger, I had a brilliant upbringing. I had the right people around us in my family units, the friends. So my family is quite a high energy family in general. You know, I'm half Scottish, so I've got a bit of that mad side into us. They say
nice.
So, but I think all these little dots just connect up, and you know, it is you understand where your beliefs and your traits have come from when you're younger. They've been instilled into you. So having that structure has had a big part to play. Added with the extra element of a hearing impairment, it's just sort of built me up to, you know, the characteristic that I've got today.
Yeah, well, with the hearing impairment, is it 50% of your hearing you were born
It's about a 50% loss, which was actually quite a shock to me when, you know, I found out, because I'm like, to think, like I said, I've always tried to view it in the light, especially as I grew a little bit older, when I got to like my teenage years, and, you know, I 100% didn't want to wear my hearing aids anymore. It just wasn't cool to be wearing them sort of things in school.
Yeah.
But I started to, view like I was missing out on certain things, so that would kind of put us down for just a short while. But at the same time, some of the things that my friends or family, the noises and the distractions that they could hear, that was taken away. It was stripped away. So it's like I added, like sleep, for example. I use this all the time. I've always been a great sleeper. I really have. And I think for two reasons. One is I genuinely believe that my high energy, and I always try to say to people, as long as you're maximising your energy throughout the day, if you think you're giving it your best, by the time you get to sleep at night, you should be out because you've had such a great day. It's like your body needs that rest. It needs to recover in order to, go out and do the same again the next day. But I also think as well, having that hearing impairment had just little daft things, seagulls flying around, sitting on the roof, whatnot, creaking. Like some people even say they can hear the water running through the pipes under the floorboards.
Yeah.
Oblivious. Absolutely none of that to me.
Interesting.
So it's like I'm just, again, if you can't hear that, then there's no reason to get up. I mean, especially when we first moved in, me and my wife got our first house. I used to, well, I've still got it. I say I used to, a baseball bat down the side of my bed. When I still lived with my parents, it was there. But when we moved, and the first night we were sleeping, and I went and put the baseball bat on Rachel's side, and she's like, "What are you doing, Scott?" And I'm like, "Well, you're gonna have to hold the bat." And she's like, "And why is that?" I said, "Well, if anybody comes through that door, lass, I'm not going to hear
I'm not hearing a fucking thing.
You're going to have to go and sort them out." Absolutely not. Absolutely. I said, "Well, if you need to, rattle me with the bat, and then I'll get it now."
Hit me with the bat, then I'll go hit them with the bat. Yeah. No, I love that.
So,
Were you bullied for this hearing impairment? Was it? Did you get
yeah, I was. Like, I wouldn't. But this is the thing. Like the resilience that I had, that bounce back ability. Again, it could have come from the structure of my family. How I was brought up as a kid, but there was a good number of times. I mean, not so much now that I'm grown up. You know what I mean? People see it in a different light. But back then, I mean, especially when I was in junior school, I was introduced to, it's like a radio transmitter. So I had to wear this big sort of box around my neck.
Right,
and the teacher would wear one as well.
Oh, yeah.
So the communication was like unbroken, like where the hearing aids, you've still got the distraction. It would just go from one mic to the next.
Yeah.
And, I had some laughs with it because sometimes the teachers would forget to knock it off, walk into the staff room, and then I could
start
hear
slagging you off.
Either slagging me off or talking about what they were getting up to the weekend.
And you're like, ooh, insider gossip. Yeah, nice.
And the crowd of kids that would come, "What's happening? What's happening?" But
did you feel like Inspector Gadget kind of thing, like spying?
Yeah. In junior school, obviously, because you were set in the same classes, everybody got to know me and it was absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But when I went up to senior school, I used to have to carry this thing about, and obviously new school, new kids, fresh meat sort of thing, who can we pick on?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of like bullying around, especially because I was singled out, you know what I mean? It was obvious. But even when I wasn't, and I stopped wearing my hearing aids, like people would just gossip quietly on purpose in order to sort of try and trigger us or get us to push my buttons. So there was, but again, I've never let it beat me up for too long. I've always thought, right, well, no, there's ways around this, there's new angles. So I would either just use it as a way to build my confidence, or I would go out and just do something to take the attention away from that. And then it would soon die off, you know what I mean? Just kids being kids.
Well, it's interesting though, because a lot of people, and I feel like I say this on every episode, but a lot of people that come on the show have been bullied for something in their life, to different levels and different extremities. But I think it's funny how that then translates to their later adult life, where they're doing something that requires them to be in, the spotlight or something like that. So I'm just curious, do you think that bullying, do you think that gave you a bit more insight into self-belief that you talk about now? Was that more of like do you think that's helped you like in your adult life?
Sorry, what was that? To talk more?
And to sort of have that awareness of more self-belief and to really want to push that home as a message.
Not necessarily in hearing, just in general.
In your life. General life, because of the resilience that you
built.
No,
100%. I mean, just simple things again, like talking about awareness in general. Like my awareness for crossing the road, for example, just when hearing, it was like once I'd come to realise, like, Scott, you can't just take it for granted. Like people could just I can't hear the sound of the cars.
Yeah.
But for
Well,
me,
thank God electric cars weren't a thing back then. Jesus,
Well, yeah.
I even nearly get hit by them as well.
they're a nightmare now.
No, Teslas have nearly ran over me. Jesus.
But just simple things. So like looking at it from that lens, you know, it's I've had to build my awareness up in different levels. But
Yeah.
100%. It's sort of rolled onto different aspects of life and kept me aware. But it was 2018 when I went to see a motivational speaker. Well, I went to an event and there was a motivational speaker on, and that's like when it really opened up to what self-improvement has got to offer. But again, prior to that, I do believe that, you know, I went travelling at the age of 24, went round like 8 different countries in the space of 4 months over, you know, Asia and...
Was it like a backpacking thing?
Like, like a bit of a backpacking travel. So like just solo on my own as well.
Wow.
So that opened up and reassured me that some of the things I'd done in my past life and how, you know, things were good. I was happy. Energy was always high. It was there. So I do feel, but like the awareness levels, that everything was just sort of stacking up to, you know, where I am today, really. So
yeah. So let's dive into that actually, because that is one of my next questions actually. In 2018, when you heard your first motivational speech, do you remember anything about what was said during that speech that really spoke to you?
Believe it or not, no. Like that's the hard thing. It wasn't like, you know, a key word hit me or a note or anything like that. I think it was just framing it around, you know, how you are actually showing up in life. You know, what is it that you're bringing to the table, what you're offering, and it was like the sort of just radiating the energy that was coming off him, and I was sat at the front again, obviously making sure hearing problem, wanting to be at the front, and it just got me thinking for ages. You know, it was down in Peterborough, this event, so it was like a 5-hour drive back home or whatever. So I thought, right, no music, no nothing. I just want to lock into this and actually digest it properly. Which again, a lot of people, I went to these events, you can get a bit skeptical. It's just too easy to be a bit negative around everything. But when you actually start changing and shifting your perspective, which I think is a big word in self-improvement, perspective is massive. But when you do and you open up a little bit, then you can start seeing things a little bit differently. And where I started resonating with things like that, I was like, right, how am I bringing my best self to the table? What do I do? And like the high energy, I've always been a high energy person, confident, this, that, and the other. And simple things like people would say to me, you know, Scott, you're the life and soul of a party. Like, whether it's
I get that vibe from you, yeah.
It's like on a night out or with friends and family, you know, I would always instigate and I would always get there. But I'd always see it as a challenge. Like if I go into a room and it's pretty flat, I'm like give us 5 minutes and I'll let you. If one of the, I'd just start talking louder, deliberately start talking louder, and you find that people are like, you know, they'd start raising to the occasion.
But you give them permission to then come out of their shell, don't you? Yeah.
So
that's why there's always someone with that level of energy in a friendship group, because they're needed. Because if everyone else is flat, there's always one like cheerleader or hype guy or whatever. You know, you're needed. People like you are needed.
Well, now obviously the brand in a hype, you know, the hype man. I'm happy to be the hype man.
Exactly,
you know, I'm my own hype man. But it was like so. But as cheesy as that sounds, like you're the life and soul of the party. But I was like, well, that's technically what it is, you know what I mean? I just want to be able to go into a room and raise that energy, however it might be, you know, through speaking, through actions, motion. So that's sort of become my philosophy behind what I wanted to do. And just, again, it just gradually built into listening to different podcasts, you know. Like I think everybody who's listening to yours now, they should be looking at it different angles, different ways, not just, oh, this is just two fellas speaking. Like absolutely not. There's little nuggets in there. You know, even
absolutely.
If in a 1 hour episode, if you take one or two things away, that's worthwhile.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, my entrance into the self-improvement, self-development world, whatever you want to call it, was similar to you with motivational speech. It wasn't one that I went to see, but it was one that randomly came up, suggested on YouTube. You know, if you like Google motivational videos or whatever. Yeah. And it was a guy called Les Brown. Do you know Les Brown? Les Brown, yeah. Yeah, so his you gotta be hungry speech was like, I can hear it in my head and I can hear his voice and the power behind it. And I think, because I wasn't like, because we spoke about this on the phone, we both come from a place where life was just kind of okay. It wasn't terrible, we weren't like, down in the dumps, depressed, living in a cardboard box or something like that. We were just like, there was just something kind of missing, and that's where I was as well. But those motivational words and those speakers were like, ooh, this is interesting, this is new, this is exciting, this is getting me, hyped up, So it's like, well, is there any other speakers that you now listen to that like you listen to on a regular basis?
What do I listen to?
Yeah, like speaker-wise, do you listen to motivational speeches now? Or have you kind of moved into more podcast side of things?
It's a bit of both. Obviously, trying to build a brand. A lot of my education side of what I'm trying to, consume.
Yes.
Again, because this is the thing. There's so much information out there. You can easily get sucked in, and just trying to take everything in at once. But I do, from different angles. I like. There's Mel Robbins from a female point of view. I think she's brilliant. How she sort of connects with her audience. She looks for sort of the situation she's been in her own life, and uses that as an example to move forward. And then you've got people like there's Alex Hormozy. I like him, but although he's more like sort of business sided, he does bring life skills into it. I mean, Tony Robbins is the easy one for me to say that is massive. I think he's huge, but again, if you're not in this space, a lot of people, you can walk down the street, do you know who Tony Robbins is? Absolutely not. But I'm like, it baffles me.
I normally say to them, have you seen Shallow Hal with Jack Black? Because he's in that.
Yeah. Well, that was another thing. I watched that. I think I was 14, went to the pictures to watch it for the first time, and then now, obviously years later, I'm like, that was the guy.
That's fucking Tony Robbins.
That was the guy in the elevator.
Even then, he was still big back then. I mean, he wasn't as big as he is now. But I think motivational speakers. I think when I was getting into it, it was still they were kind of like looked down on almost. Like it's like motivational speakers. Like it was kind of around the time. Do you remember when Shia LaBeouf came out and he's like, just do it? Yeah, that was what people expected from motivational speakers. But actually, when you actually listen to the proper ones, there's actually, like you said, nuggets of wisdom in there. They're not just going feel good and drink your water and eat your greens. That's not what it is. It's kind of like they're trying to plant the seed in you.
Well, I mean, there's two sides of it again. Like there's the hype side, the loud side. Like Eric Thomas, and he's sort of
the hip hop preacher, isn't he? Yeah.
He just shouts at you, but
he does it.
To me, you need both. You need that kick sometimes, but you also need to back it up with evidence as to what it is and stack it up. Like I played American football for a lot of years, best part of 12, 15 years or something, and that American football, trying to bring that energy. That's another thing I could say. A lot of people say that my energy is kind of Americanized. Scott, you're too Americanized. You just don't want to be American. But I'm like, I take that as a compliment any day. You know what I mean? I've been to America on several occasions now. I love it. I love the energy. I love the vibe. But people do say, again, I suppose it's just like if you go in there on a holiday, you're in the tourist trap. Everybody's going to be on a high. You know what I mean? So some folks say it's not all like this. But then I hear again, my perspective on it is, people are just generally, they've got the feel good vibe for life, whereas over in England it could be we look for the negatives when we shouldn't. But in terms of motivational speaking, I honestly feel as though you need both sides, because if you're just sitting there and you were taking in all the information but you didn't actually have there was nothing driving you through to actually go and act on the actions that you've took in, then you just sit there and you just end up consuming.
Well, that's the thing is, you listen to it, you feel hyped, and then the feeling goes, and then you're like, I need another video, and you watch another video, then you feel good. It's just like a up and down of these feelings. But when you listen to these things, and then you go, actually, you know what? Now I'm going to go to the gym, and then you do that, and then that sort of action, for example, is just one of many that we'll obviously get into. But it's like once you start those habits because of this fire, and you don't just let it simmer out, that's when the real results come. And I love that. When did you do Ninja Warrior?
You've seen the post.
I saw the post, yeah. You failed to mention this to me, and I saw the post, and I was like, I got to ask him about fucking Ninja Warrior,
I can't
bro.
believe, that's my claim to fame, I suppose.
Well,
I forgot to mention
Defeated by a wall, you said.
It was 2016, that was. So how that come about, again, quite funny. I always the high energy, but my sister, obviously I've got one sibling who's my sister, and we've always bounced off each other. We've got an absolute brilliant relationship, And it come about that obviously playing American football, I've considered myself like a prime athlete. You know, I've always looked after my body, been in good shape. You know, managed to play for Great Britain level. So like, you know, that sort of speaks for itself. And I always used to pick on my sister because when she's 5 years younger than me, she was coming up, started to go to uni. She come a bit of a, what I would say, slob. She was just like lounging around, watching Friends all the time and stuff like that. So I'd always call her out, "Oh, you're just a slob." Anyways, long story short.
Are you the older brother?
I'm the older brother.
Yeah, you got to do that to the younger siblings. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. But she like basically fell in love with CrossFit. So she managed to find her feet, which I loved because I was like, called you out. Like, it was me. I'm motivated you to go and do that. She'll disagree, but anyway, she fell in love with CrossFit and she become, you know, really good at it. And still calling each other out. No, you still haven't got what your brother's got. How can we settle this
healthy
debate?
Competition?
What can we do? So it come about, rather than just doing something out on the street or in the gym, like, why don't we enter a competition such as Ninja Warrior? We're both big fans of it.
Nice.
And that'll settle the argument. Whoever gets the furthest is the better winner. And that's exactly what we done. So we applied as like because it's supposed to be individuals that do it, but we like sort of put our application in as a joint.
Yeah.
And obviously the producers liked what they saw, give us a shot. Went down to Manchester, like you say, 2016, done the auditions, and it's fair to say, sorry Sam, but you know, I am the better brother in the sense that I beat my sister.
Nice.
I got further along the course than my sister did. She slipped halfway through. She like fell off, like, it was like a swing tyre, and she fell off that into the water. But I managed to get right to the end, to the wall, and you get 3 attempts at running up this wall. Mm-hmm. And bear in mind, this is where, I don't know if my ego maybe got over me a little bit. Prior to actually doing the event, you didn't get to try it out or anything like that. There was a lady demonstrating, and she was giving you advice on what to do. And as we got to the end, I was like, I was beginning to climb on walls when I was younger. I'm like, little monkey boy, definitely. I've still got that in there. Wall, no problem. Got that in the bag. Well, how wrong was I? 3 attempts, didn't get up the wall. Like, I was devastated.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I watch that show and I love it. And like, I've had a friend called Chu, and he went on it as well. And I watch it and I'm like, it's easy to sit there and go, oh yeah, I could do that. How did you not do that? But in person, like, the feat of athleticism that you need is crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, and the annoying thing about it, again, if I just listened to what this lady was saying, it was just all to do with your technique. I mean, I was running at it. I just thought, if I just run as fast as I can, and then I just jump, and that'll be it, done. Yeah. But they say when your eyes, you should actually be looking at the pole that you're trying to, not in front, just looking at that. That'll naturally round your body. So when you're running, and you would get them extra steps in. But obviously I was just trying to run at it like a mad dog, and like I say, 3 attempts in. But that's something else. Funny enough, I was saying this to my wife just the other day, that, you know, people come up and now and they take the piss in the street. Oh, you didn't get up the wall, you just got... No. And I'm like, that was almost 10 years ago, that, like. And so, but it's just little silly things. But, you know, some folk, it can push their buttons as if to be like, oh, you know, like, well, you won't give it a try, you won't try, but I just laugh it off as if, like, you know, I put myself on TV, I'm ready to take the run. So,
it's a big, like I watch like a lot of these shows and I'm just like, it's easy to think, like, I love it when people watch football and they're like, oh, what did you do that for, man? And they start watching it. I'm like, you could fucking do better. Do you know what I mean? That's always my mentality, and I think it's a bit more of a humble mentality to have. It's like, well, I couldn't do better than that. You know, I can't do monkey bars or whatever. Like, the average person could not even get close to that wall. So, like, I'm never that person that's going to be like, you know, I could have done better than that. Like, I just hate that mindset.
Overall, it was a brilliant experience. Really enjoyed it. I mean, another ambition of mine is to maybe potentially get onto Gladiators. So,
that would be cool. Yeah.
But funny enough, again, the connection is my sister, one of her good friends from the CrossFit gym she's at now, is currently on this season's Gladiators.
Oh, really? Nice.
It is. It's called Finn, and he was just on last week there, so he's made it through to the quarterfinals, so he'll be on again then. So it's nice to have that somebody local that, you know, I can watch and just envy, I suppose.
They're inhuman on Gladiators. They're inhuman, the Gladiators. And I like watching them, I'm like, damn, I'm scared. Even the women, I'm like, oh fuck.
Well, he actually knocked giant off the duel.
Oh, really?
So
Nice.
he knocked one of the gladiators off. Like, and fucking that giant, he's a fucking big dude. Like, so,
yeah, absolutely. So going back to the motivation side of things, because people don't really understand motivation, and I agree with you when we spoke about this. So in your own words, how would you describe what motivation actually is, and how best people how would you describe what motivation is, and how do you think people are getting it wrong?
For me, it's motivation. It links with other aspects that if you're not feeling inspired, if you don't feel as though you've got a purpose behind the motivation that you want, then it's never going to be there. And what I mean by that is, if you're sitting around waiting to be motivated, you'll never get motivated.
Yeah.
You know, you purposely have to go out and look for things in your life that are going to create that spark, that are going to give you that inspiration, and you feed it into yourself to then say, right, well, I've now seen it. This is the inspiration. How can I achieve it? And because you've seen it, doesn't necessarily mean like, well, I've got to take the exact same steps as these people. Absolutely not. So it's you've got to find what works for you and your steps. So, I mean, just your daily habits will be completely different from this person, this individual. It doesn't mean you can't get the same end result. But that's what I love about motivational speaking, self-improvement coaches, is they try to give you that different narrative as to, you know, we've established what it is that you're after.
Yeah.
We're going to help you put these steps in place now to go and get it. So for me, motivation, it's like a lot, and I love, because there's loads of things out there now saying like motivational shite, it's all trash talk, but I'm like, I like the word motivation. I don't want to bash it.
I know what you mean though. Yeah.
You know,
it does get a bad
it's
connotation.
like it's getting a bad rep that, you know, it's like, oh, it's not motivation you need, it's discipline, this, that, and the other. But I'm like, I feel as though, because the energy loop, as I call it, sort of the free energy sequence, that they all connect. So without motivation, in my eyes, it's just like that loop isn't there. It doesn't exist. So, but that for me, it is. There's more to than just waiting for motivation. You have to go out and find out what's going to drive it.
Yeah, exactly. And for motivation, it's like you have to have. Well, the clue is in the name, motive. Where does it come from? It comes from a motive to do something. There has to be a reason. But I think most people are lacking that reason to do something.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if I don't have a motive, what's the point? Like, motivational videos will give you a little bit of fire, but unless you can tie it to something that is worthwhile doing, it's like you're not gonna keep going. And you used the word earlier. You said inspired, and I love that, because most people aren't waiting for motivation. They need inspiration, because inspiration you can pull from anywhere else, really. Motivational, it's a little fire, but like I think inspiration gives you that like massive like spark of energy. But I was looking up because I hadn't really looked at motivation for so long, because it was just something that I think I looked at the start of my journey, and then you kind of understand, and then you go, okay, that's kind of it solidified. But for most people listening, like, I'm going to treat people listening as if they've never really understood motivation before. So the two types of motivation, like intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. So do you want to give the definition of those?
I mean, well, simply you can just see that extrinsic, in my eyes, it's what you've got to work towards, or you could be disciplined in it. It's a dangling carrot, you know. You're trying to chase something that's, you know, it doesn't exist within yourself. So it could be a pay rise, it could be you're trying to get out of a relationship that it's broken down and you don't want to be a part of. So it doesn't necessarily have to be around money. Everyone thinks like you're motivated to, you know, want to, but you can be motivated to actually try to get out of something rather than you know, being drawn towards something. So that's like from an external point of view, but internally and this is where people I'll find it the hardest, and this is again key for me, going back to my hearing impairment and everything. I feel as though everything was building inside, that if you can find this is the natural things that come to you that light you up, that they're so small and simple, but they mean so much. But unless you find out what these are, that actually, because again, I could say that it's just simple things now, that getting up in the morning, feeling natural, feeling fresh, going out, taking that walk, going for a run, going to the gym, just these simple things that light you up. But you've got to, unless you start doing the inner work, and this is where I'm going to sound a bit like spiritual, then you won't know what them triggers are in you to actually get it out.
Yeah, it's like if you are motivated by money, just admit that you're motivated by money.
Yeah.
If getting a pay rise or getting more money or getting a sale over the line, if that motivates you and it pushes you forward, good.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Money makes the world go round. We all need money, but
yeah.
even though people like demonize it and whatnot, but like it is that intrinsic motivation is something that comes from a deep meaning, not external reward. Whereas extrinsic motivation is something like money, status, whatever. Like it's something like outside of yourself, like you said, the carrot and the stick. So I just think like most people, like you said, don't do that inner work to know what they actually want.
Yeah.
And they just get these little flitting moments of like a spark, but don't follow it. You know what I mean? Like, where do you find that, like, most people go wrong when it comes to, like, that sort of path, like, following it? Why do you think most people will get that bit of motivation and not do anything? Why do you think it disappears so easy?
Well, again, perspective. What I said, you know, if you're wearing the wrong glasses in life, and again, this is where I want to try and really drill into people, is that there's so much information in the world today. But it's the case of like, what information are you actually consuming? What are you taking on board? I mean, I read a study the other day that said that in today's world, we are consuming, I think it's like 74 gigabytes of data per day, which is the equivalent of 16 movies per day.
Wow. Okay.
So if I said to somebody, you sit there, there's your popcorn and whatnot, now you're going to sit and watch 16 movies, you know, your head will, you'll be numb by the end of it. So for me, it's what information, if you 16 movies and 15 of them were absolutely terrible, you only got one good movie out of them 16, you know, if it was 16 movies that you thought, right, I can definitely have a go at these, but that's highly unlikely because of the information that we're taking on board. So for me, it's just people are getting lost, they're getting drowned out in all the noise out there, that they just actually don't know what inspires them. So for me, I've got so much inspiration, it's coming out my ass, you know what I mean? And that's a genuine truth. Like
we'll package that up and sell it to anyone listening,
I wish I could give it out. There's so many things I would love to do in life, but obviously I condense it down because I understand that I can't do everything, especially you know, when you've got a young family and everything now, you can't just take off. I mean, being an actor, I mean, I would love to actually give that a shot, but I understand that would require me to go and look for work and whatnot and work elsewhere. But I wouldn't shoot it down. This is what I'm trying to say to people in the sense that my circumstances are different if I really wanted to do it. But I feel as though what I'm doing now currently with this is, I've got a bigger pull towards it. This is what I actually want to do. But going back to actually finding it, it's hopefully it's podcasts like yours or speaking or posts that I'm putting out there that are going to just initially trigger people to think, you know something, I'm just going to give it that little shift. I'm going to put on some different glasses, as Scott's saying, and actually go out and try and find, I mean, hence why I like to say life's best energy, you know, your energy within. But my question to people is, what does your life's best energy look like? Yeah. And then folks sit back and go, you know something, I have absolutely no idea. Yeah. I have no idea. So I'm like, well, they just use that one simple line, sit down and start to think like, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? You know, what does it sound like? You know, and using that as just a tool, a technique to start pulling things together, not what you've just seen on Twitter or Instagram, Twitter, X, Instagram, what's the other one, TikTok, all of these, that you're just being fed, and it's not healthy for, yes, like the algorithms pushing what you're watching more of, but is it actually inspiring you? Does it lift you up?
I think it gives more people FOMO, like the fear of missing out. Like even someone, I mean, I've been in development for like 10, 11 years, something like that, right? And even now, I'm looking at these videos of, you know, people in Dubai or whatever going, is that how my life should look? And then I've got to pull myself away and be like, actually, no, I'm just getting sucked down this rabbit hole of bullshit. Because what most people don't realize is the reason I think a lot of people are depressed when they look at social media is because they're looking at where their reality is. They're looking at this sort of highlight reel. And then they're realizing that the gap between where they are and where they think they want to be is so big. It just creates this black hole inside of like, oh, well, my life doesn't look like that. I'll never achieve anything like that. And it's like, do you actually want to? Is the problem. That's what I mean. It's like you're looking at this thinking that's what you're supposed to do. But you're not sitting back and going, do I actually want that? Because I don't want to live in Dubai. I fucking hate Dubai. I went once and I was like, it's too fucking hot for me. I don't want to be in Dubai. I don't care if that's where the money goes. I don't care if that's where, you know, the influencers and the Bugattis and Lamborghinis and shit are. I don't like it. So once I've made that conscious choice that I actually know deep down, I don't want to be there. That's not the lifestyle for me.
Yeah.
You know, I like the lifestyle that I've got where I can do a podcast. I want to grow it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like, I'm not stuck where I am.
There's nothing wrong with having ambition.
Yeah. But I know for a fact, I don't want that lifestyle where I can't go down. Like people like, Dan Bilzerian. You know Dan Bilzerian?
Yeah.
Like he can't go to the shops without, a security team. Do you really want that life? Sounds cool for maybe a weekend, but is that how you would want to live? For most people, no. Like most people's brains would melt.
No. Well, I don't want to sort of single out or demonize people for living certain lives. You know what I mean? That's fine.
If
for
it
them.
suits you, it suits you.
And this is where I'm saying as well, I don't want to put out there that I'm like, oh, I'm just happy with my life as it is. Like I have got big visions and grand plans that I want to put in place. I've got 2 young kids now. I've got so many things I want to do, but I feel as though I'm in line with what I'm actually trying to do. I mean, before all this self-development thing, as I've said, for me, I didn't, as you mentioned, I didn't fall into a hole. I wasn't, my life's falling apart. I was just gradually taking the small steps, but I've always felt as though they were in line with what I wanted to do. When I was younger, I mean, prime example being when I was 19 years old, that was like my first entrepreneurial spark, as I would say. I wanted to open up an internet cafe.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'd just been selected for Great Britain for American football, and I was just a young lad enjoying life with my friends and family. So I was like, I had to sort of choose as to which one I was being drawn toward the most. And American football and just socialising with my friends, that was it. But if I see somebody else who's got an internet cafe and they've had it for 20 years and they got their Lamborghinis and this, that, and the other, I could easily just think, that could have been me. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, you chose your steps, this is the route that you went down. Like, so it's like, I'm not going to, people say like, oh, well, there's no point in dwelling on the past, but I'm like, but I like to look into it and think, like, what can I learn from it?
Absolutely.
We're not going to keep growing, but there's nothing wrong. Don't put yourself there and say, oh, well, I'm just going to, because I can't get this life, I've just shut it down and think, like, you can potentially get it, but the first question, as we're trying to say, do you actually want it?
Yeah, and I think one of the earliest stories I was ever told, I can't remember where I either read it or heard it on something, was the paradox of choice. So, and I think the example that was used was something to do with, like, I don't know why, the Berlin Wall, when it came down. So on one side of the wall you had, like, let's just call it the bright sunny side where everything was colourful, and you had the other side where everything was like grey and monotonous kind of thing, right? So on the grey monotonous side there's a little old woman, and every day she goes and buys her bread, and she knows she can have brown or white. That's her 2 choices, and she knows what she wants, right? Wall comes down, this woman has to adapt to all these different types of bread. You've got like gluten-free and white, brown, seeded, whatever, and she looks at the bread, too many choices, does nothing, goes home with no bread. And that's most people, I think. They're showing so many options, and they're not deciding which one actually suits them. And they're then doing nothing. They're stepping out of the game. Where it's like, no, if you actually look at these options, decide which one you actually, would prefer to go down. Your life's going to, like, expand exponentially.
I love that analogy. I think that's brilliant. Like,
you can have that for your speeches, mate. Take it. But like, where do you think people are misunderstanding self-development? Because you say self-development to someone, they go, "Oh, not another one of these fucking junkies, doing ice baths and fucking cup therapy on the back." Or do you know what I mean? Like, why do you think that connotation happens, and why do you think people are getting it wrong?
I mean, the misconception around it there. I feel. I mean, I'm not going to say I know the definite answer to that, really. It's just because I was there myself, in the fact that there was no need for it. I was just living. As you can say, people just go through the motions, but I also think society has got part to blame, in the sense that they think, oh, it's normal to feel grubby. It's normal to just have a shit day. It's like, well, yes, have a shit day or feel grubby now and again, but when you find that you're doing it on a regular basis, maybe pull yourself up and say, right, something's not, your life's not totally out of whack, but it could be better. But again, you go back on social media, you get sucked down, the rabbit holes of all these different, you're just becoming overstimulated, that you even though you've maybe become aware one day, like, you start to realise things aren't right, but then you just drift off again. But when people actually think, right, if they take the next step and think, how can I improve my life? What are the options out there? And this is where I think it struggles, that people will think, right, well, I don't feel broken enough to have to go to therapy and speak to somebody. So like that's out. I don't want to do that. Right? What about a retreat? You look at retreats. It's just a lot of people around the campfire, in the woods, bare feet.
I've been there. Yeah, been there.
You know, it's like, and I'm like, this is where everybody's version of improvement looks different.
Yes.
So for some people they might book me on the next retreat out wherever it is, but if somebody else takes that option out, right, well, where does that leave me now? I mean, church is another example in my life.
You mentioned that to me.
People can turn to church, and if they, after 6 months of going to church, have improved their life. So that's where it come about for me, in the sense that there's got to be, it'd be healthy if there was just more options, more approaches to get the same overall result. However, if you want to improve your energy, if you want to improve your life, you don't want to feel grubby and shit every day. And a simple term that I like to put, if you just don't feel as though your energy is matching your ambition, so your ambition being, you've identified there's something there that I want to go after, I just don't seem to have that pull, that motivation in us. Well, hopefully what I'm trying to do is going to get people to think, well, this is just another option. Yeah. It's worth a go.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things I love is calling it a path to mastery, right? Like mastery over yourself, right? Because like most people see online the ice baths, or they have to go lift, like they have to go deadlift, or the newest high rocks thing, right? If that's your version of self-improvement, do it. But most people think they have to do all of these things, and they have to read like 8 books a week or something, run in the sea at 6 a.m. and stuff. It's like, no, most of that stuff, unless it benefits you, because self-improvement is just, it's exactly that. It's improving your quality of life based on something that you actually love. If you're doing all these self-help junky things and they're not benefiting your life, you're just ticking off a box because Alex Hormozy fucking told you to do it. It's like, it's not going to benefit your life. Find the few, like I don't run in the sea. I don't like fucking ice baths. I don't do cold showers anymore. Fuck that shit. I'm not doing that stuff. I like a nice warm shower. That makes me feel good. That improves my fucking life. But you know what I mean? Like, I'll read the books. I'll listen to the podcasts. I go to the gym and I have a creative outlet. For me, that's my path to mastery. This podcast is my path because it forces me to not only improve my mindset and look for new ways to become a better interviewer, become a better person, to have more interesting things to talk about, to actually be an interesting person. It's just that also inspires me to want to do more with other areas of my life. It's like a knock-on domino effect.
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, because for me, like it was when I was looking at the different options of what's out there, and right, Scott, you're a high energy person. You've got that approach that people, if I speak to people straight away, I want to lift their energy up. So that's when the concept of the can come around, in the sense that when you look at energy drinks, Monster, Red Bull, Lucozade, they showcase it like it's loud, it's big, it's out there, it's exciting. And I mean, it doesn't necessarily, Red Bull in particular, they've got extreme athletes jumping out of airplanes and whatnot. Yeah. But if you look at some of the Lucozade adverts, they're more grounded in the sense that it's just kids playing basketball or whatnot.
Remember the hula hoop one where he's walking with a hula? Is that Lucozade? Yeah, shit like that.
So shit like that. But I'm like, well, that's what life's best energy. Somebody might just want to be able to hula hoop down the street and whatnot. So it's like,
because people think energy is like getting out of bed, going, "Yay, it's a new day." It doesn't.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't necessarily.
No one fucking does that.
It doesn't mean you have to. That's my version of it. You know what I mean?
So you get out of bed and you're like, "Fuck yeah!"
The missus here, she's like, just sit down again.
But does your energy sometimes drive her insane?
I just like for me, the people, what you're looking at, how you perceive self-improvement, and there is options out there. My advice would be just look into it. Look, like Tony Robbins, he's been doing what he does for a lot of years. But what you'll find in most of it, and again, this is just doing my research over the many years I've been involved in it now, it's like a lot of the tools and techniques, they've been around for a long time. It's nothing like ice baths, you know what I mean? If you take an ice bath, for example, just because somebody's put it in a fancy tub and you can put it in your garden and but you've got a river that's 2 miles down the road, or you've got the sea that's just, especially where I live, I've got access to all of them. But feel free to go and jump in that, and it costs nothing, and it does the exact same as what your fancy ice bath does, and that river's been there a lot longer than any of us. So it's when you actually find that these are the natural ways to improve your energy, as I keep trying to say. But if I said to somebody, we're going to go to the woods and we're going to go in, now you're going to
hug some trees,
we're getting a bit spiritual, Scott. This is what I want to do, but it's like, well, so if you just frame it differently.
And you've got to meet people where they're at as well. Like, because most people, like, if you were to tell them to go straight from feeling miserable and a bit like thingy to go hug some trees and go on a retreat in Florida or something like that, they're probably not going to do it. It's too big of a leap. So I'm curious. Let's talk about the foundation. So if someone's listening to this, maybe they're in a dark place. Maybe they're in a place where they're like, I just need something more. And this podcast had a good title and seemed like something I could listen to. Where would we tell them to start with the foundations? I've got a few ideas, but I'm curious, where would you, if someone's like, look, Scott, like, I'm fucking miserable, like, I need to change my life, I need to do something actionable, where would you tell them to start?
Again, for me, it starts with inspiration there, but some of the questions, and this is one of the keys that doing my research and what I've learned for myself, is there's 3 S's as you could follow. So you've got state, story, and strategy, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Is first of all, you need to identify what state you're in. What state are you in on a regular basis? Like, how are you moving through life? Your language, your energy when you speak to people, just simply, you walk around, you slouch over. You don't seem to have any vibe about what it is. I mean, that's just one example of many. But you identify the state you're in. But then after that, you need to find out what story you're telling yourself. So what beliefs, basically, what narrative you're following in life that you're not capable. I mean, again, this is like, it can get a bit like, it is doing that inner work is to, do I feel worthy of what I'm getting? I've got a shite job, I've been divorced, I'm overweight, whatever it might be. But if you keep telling yourself that same story, your perspective, the stuff, the inspiration that you're trying to look at, it'll be clouded because you're looking at the wrong things. So if you need to find out what story you're telling yourself, and you need to change that story up. And again, this is where people might just throw it in and no, like, it's not as easy.
This is the way it's always been.
You can't do that. You can. It just takes effort, which, I'm sorry, without it, you will stay where you are. So you state your story and then the strategy. So when you're trying to say there that if I said to somebody without finding out their state and their story, I mean, this is doing real sort of deeper level work. I would say that what I'm trying to do with the can is bring the awareness out there. So however it looks for you, go and do it with whatever coach but for me, it's like, right, we've identified your state, your story's not right, this is what we can do, but what's the steps? So rather than just throwing a book and say, read that book, which, because I found it great, it will work for you, but it's maybe not that book, it should be this book, but we didn't realise until, so that's what a good coach would do at the strategy part, is start putting the action steps in place to help this person get from A to B.
I think it's interesting, the state control, because not many people think about their default level of state, and I think there's a few things that people can do to kind of to boost that a little bit, like straight away. Like, the first thing is move. Like, just move. It doesn't have to be like in the gym, just like you said before, like going out for a walk or something, like just some sort of movement, but also fucking eat like an adult as well. Like, I know we were speaking earlier about eating fucking Cocoa Pops and stuff for breakfast, but you know what I mean? Like, eat some good fucking food. Like, stop eating takeaways and Greg's for dinner. Like, eat like an adult. That's the stuff that you give your kid. Like, if you're having Happy Meals or McDonald's for your dinner every day or Greg's, it's like, that's what you do when you were 15. Like, eat like an adult and you'll feel like you are what you eat. We've been told this since childhood. You are what you eat. You eat better, you feel fucking better. That's how it works. Also, sleep like your life depends on it, because it does. Right? Like, most people sleep as fucked, staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning, scrolling or whatever, then getting up at 6 and feeling rotten and wondering like, oh, I'm just not being able to sleep. It's like, well, put your fucking phone away, go to sleep an hour earlier. If you can go to bed an hour earlier, for anyone listening, go to bed an hour earlier, you will feel a massive difference. But also, like, take care of your physical image as well. Like, look like you give a shit about yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I find this in a lot of men that I've spoke to, is they don't look after their physical image. Like, I know you said, like, being overweight and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing. But, like, do your fucking hair, shave your beard, smell nice, wear better clothes. Do you know what I mean? Like, just things like that will make
genuine hygiene.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, mate, there's a lot of people that are passing Newcastle. Like, it's a nice place, but fuck me, some people need to learn how to use deodorant. Do you know what I mean? Like, the smell of BO wafting, you know? Like that. But, like, just taking care of your physical image and how you feel about yourself, there's a sense of pride in it. You hold yourself higher. Yeah. Again, increasing your state. Like, I don't know whether you want to add to that list.
No, I mean, what you're saying there, I always resonate back to David Goggins when that sort of thing there. Like, David Goggins, he's a freak in himself. But
he's a mutant of nature, that man.
But it's like, again, he's built himself to that point. You know, if you've read his books and you know his story, he wasn't born like that. He's had to build his way up. But when it comes to the likes of hygiene, I like how he puts it. He basically just says that if you live your life like that, if you just don't give enough of a shit about yourself, which if you're not willing to do that work, then you're telling the world that I don't give a shit about me. It's not like, oh well, there's something wrong with the world. Well, no, what you're actually telling people is you don't care enough about yourself to want to do what you're gonna do. Yeah. And like you say, the simple things in life, just keeping on top of your hygiene, your skincare routine, you know, doing the basic stuff that would, you know, improve your life, but the things that you don't think about, but then the added additional things on there is like, make sure you're moving, make sure you're hydrated, drinking clean, natural, high water.
Yeah, these are lovely, by the way. These, for anyone watching, we've got some of Scott's Inner Hype cans here as well, which are delightful as well. I'm making sure it faces the camera. Product placement.
But no, that's what I was going back to before, that these things have always been there.
Yeah, they're foundational for a reason.
But we get that caught up on like what's new, what's advanced, like all this technology. It's taken us away. But what self-improvement is just loops you back to how it should be.
Yeah.
So, like, a prime example is if you're watching the telly and you honestly feel as though you're going to bed and you're getting bad heads and you just can't focus, but you are overstimulated with all the technology that you're consuming, just get rid of your telly for a month. Just see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, I promise you won't die, but just go and give it to your neighbour if you have to, and say, don't give me my telly back until this day. Just see what happens, and if your life improves and you think, shit, that actually worked, you know, what's something else I can do now?
It's distractions. That's what I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's distractions that stop most people, because like we've got phones, iPads, laptops, you know, headphones. Spotify I've got on all the time. I'm guilty of listening to music and stuff like that, but it's a distraction from actually sitting down and going, what do I actually want to do with my life? And you think most people now feel more stressed than ever.
Yeah.
It's because their dopamine regulation is completely fucked. It's completely fucked. You think about most people get up first thing in the morning, they scroll social media. I saw a meme this morning where it was like, I don't understand how people can get up and function without scrolling through all 62 apps or something like that. I'm like, because this is why you feel miserable first thing in the morning, because your dopamine's getting primed for these little hits of dopamine. I don't know whether you do much in the way of dopamine research. Have you looked at it much?
No, well, I know, like, obviously, again, there's like 3 drivers to it you need. So for a dopamine point of view, you need something to trigger it, and then you get the reward, and then the reward like hits you to want to repeat the cycle around. So there's like the 3 entry points to it. But other than that, I'm not going to lie to people and say I know much more. So
yeah, well, it's the chemical. So you go and you drink, smoke, gamble, have sex, like scroll on your phone. It's that like, ooh, it feels good, right? And I've started to notice, and I've spoken about this a few times, I keep going back into this cycle of that. I sometimes grab my phone whenever I feel a slight bit of boredom.
Yeah.
But I've been doing this thing in the minute, and I'm working up at the time. I've got like 15 minutes of sitting, just staring at a spot of fluff on the floor, like forcing my brain to feel like, if anyone listening, try it. It's fucking hard to just sit and be like, that piece of fluff on the floor. But like, not follow your thoughts, not zone out, because your brain wants to then zone into your thoughts because it's bored. Sit in the boredom. And then your mind wants to grab the phone. You're like, ooh, I want to scroll because I'm bored. But like, how many people now? I never hear people saying they're bored now. Do you remember when that was a kid? When you were a kid and it was like, I'm bored.
Yeah.
who the fuck says they're bored now?
No,
You've got Netflix, phone, whatever. It's like no one is bored. If you force your brain to be bored, your dopamine will like reset to a level. And actually, things like focus, things like work become way easier because they actually give you that dopamine release when you're not relying on your phone for it. It's actually helping me a lot with my creativity and focus at the minute.
Yeah.
So
no,
I'm big into it at the minute.
Well, I mean, you're saying about distractions, but it is like we'll talk about alcohol, before like technology. So going back like 15 years ago, like alcohol is one way to just disguise like, that you're unhappy, you're just distracting your life. You're numbing the pain by just drinking all the time. Like social media technology is just an advanced, a newer way to do that, but it's probably causing, I mean, I don't know the stats, but there's probably so much more damage being caused by that distraction than actually going to the pub for a few pints, So
honestly, yeah, probably about the same, I would say, to be honest. But you don't drink, do you?
I like I say, I drink, but this is again like I've when I was in my younger 20s and stuff, I would go out, have a good time and have a blast and whatnot, but I've never felt the urge to, crack a can of Foster's or Stella throughout the week. It's just never been my thing,
Yeah.
So
we hear people that come into the gym and stuff, and they're having they'll be like 8 cans on a Tuesday night. I'm like, I'd be dead. Like, how do you live like that? But again, it's distraction, it's comfort. It's like my life's not how I feel, so this fills the void. This makes me feel good. It's so, and it's socially acceptable as well. I think that's the worst part about drinking is how socially acceptable it is to just drink and be pissed. Like, it's the only drug that if you don't take it, people assume you've got a problem. So why aren't you drinking? And it's like, because I don't want to feel like shit the next day, maybe, or I prime my energy. I'm conscious of my state. So,
but I feel like obviously it is getting a bad rep as we're going forward, like in the sense that not half as many people are drinking, alcohol now what they did. And, it is a bit of a shame because I do think that, the social aspect that it brings to life. But again, if you're conscious about, if you don't want to feel like shit the next day, don't get sucked into, the banter with the boys and whatnot, just...
Yeah.
But again, it's like what you actually thinking about what you actually want in life. If you want to get drunk and you want that hangover in the morning, then you go for it. But if you don't, just say, right, I'm gonna have 2 pints and that's it. Done. Yeah. I'm just gonna stick to the water. So
I take the car everywhere, so I'm never tempted. But I haven't drank any alcohol this year. I mean, I know we're 24 days into the year. That's not like it's. I don't intend to do dry January. I'm just like, I don't feel the need to do it. I never have an opportunity to. None of my friends enjoy going out to get pissed, and it's quite nice to have that circle. And I mean, that's one thing we haven't actually mentioned, to be fair, is finding the right kind of people, hanging around the right sort of people who fit those values. Because that's the one thing you'll find as well is when you go in, I think that's what stops people going into self-development more so, is they start getting comments from their friends where they're like, why are you getting up at this time? Why are you going to the gym? Why have you stopped drinking? Why are you not coming out with us? You get those comments from people, and it's quite shocking for some people to realize, actually, if I stop drinking and I stop being a pisshead and I stop doing stupid shit, I have a very small circle of friends. Like, did you experience that yourself when you started getting more involvement?
Absolutely. I mean, again, I've got a great core group of friends around me. I've got my family, but I know that they look at what I do now and how I've been living my life over the last 5 years is different. It's like, well, Scott's still Scott, but different.
Yeah.
There's something not the same there. But I just, like I say, my vision, my values, they've changed and they've grown for the better in my eyes. Like, me personally, again, I suppose at the end of the day, it only matters what I say. And, as long as as I call my little and loud family, which is my wife and my 2 kids, they're like the core unit.
Yeah.
For every action I take is going to directly impact them. So as long as they're aware of what's happening, but everyone else, I'm like, I'm sorry, but if it doesn't quite fit the criteria of the Scott that you're hoping is going to show up, then that's. But as you've said there, like your environment, the structure that's around you, like that's one of the things that I loved about American football. Like, I used to have to travel like over 2 hours to go to training every Sunday. So by the time we got up there, and then 2 to 3 hours practice, by the time we got changed, got a bite to eat, another drive down, it would just take the full thing out of my day,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But it was worth it for me because not only did I love playing the sport, the high intensity, all the rest of it, but it was the people that I was around.
Yeah,
You know, it
the
was
camaraderie of it, yeah.
it was so different in the sense that, and again, not that I'm trying to like put a label on local Sunday League football, but I felt as though when I played Sunday League football, which I did at home,
Yeah.
it was very different from my American football days.
Yeah.
Because we had like people, all walks of life, you know, all professions, all trades that were there. Especially when I got the opportunity to play for Great Britain and I was going to these camps, then it was just it widened it out even more. But these were the people that I wanted to be around.
Yeah.
They encouraged me to grow in. Again, I didn't know much about self-improvement then from like what I do now. But
Yeah.
in order to be a better player and just want to improve different aspects of my like player ability, like just obviously the drive up there is itself. If I knew that we had training the next day, and the lads were out because I was young, I would go up. Like you say, I was like, right, I'm driving tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like it's non-negotiable. I want to be there. I want to be a starter on this team. I'm not spending all my Sundays just to sit on the bench. So, but it was healthy to be around the right people.
Yeah.
So again, if you're in a sport and you think it's great, but the people aren't right for you, maybe try a different sport.
Yeah.
Like,
You got to be aware of what's good for you and what's serving your life and what's not. And I think we talk a lot about men's mental health and where men are going wrong. And I genuinely think most men just have shit friends who don't care about them other than like, you know, having a good time, quote unquote. You know what I mean? Getting pissed. I think that's the reality of most men's life is the people around them don't care about their growth. And I think, I mean, you're in a few coaching groups. I've got some myself, like, and obviously I surround myself on the podcast with people who are growth minded.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of men, like, you know, are miserable these days because they lack that camaraderie and that mission, that purpose that lights them up. And men crave purpose. We crave a reason to do things. And going back to inspiration, that's where it comes from. Having that mission, having goals and stuff in place. But excuse me, you have spoke about visualization to me quite a bit.
Visualization.
Yeah, so it sounds like quite a spiritual term, like, oh, I'm just going to sit and visualize it. But actually, it's very fucking important, and it changes your state massively. So how in-depth do you want to go into the visualization side of things of what you do?
Well, again, it's another, like, technique. It's a very big tool and technique within, you know, the self-improvement space that when you aren't aware of it, there's no need for it. But when you are, you kind of think, shit, like how I need this in my life, or how have I not had it in my life? Because, I mean, I love to question people and think, right, well, you've gone about your day-to-day business. What were you thinking about that whole time you were doing, you know, what do you mean? Well, where were your thoughts going in these moments? Well, I was just doing the day. Well, what does doing the day look like? So you were just reacting to the day. So to me, the difference is like if you're just reacting to the day rather than actually, and this I get that some people might think, oh well, it's going a bit heavy here that you're talking about what am I going to do, like I'm like you don't have to do it in every second, but just if you're like my drive over here, where were my thoughts? I wasn't just driving for driving's sake.
Yeah.
Or I could put the music on, which I love music, you know what I mean? That
Absolutely.
Sort of gets me going, I get a jig on in the car. So, but other than that, I switch the music off. I want my thoughts to go somewhere, but it's up to me where I'm going to channel them thoughts.
Yeah.
So to me, visualization is future, you know, picturing myself sat in this chair now. How's the podcast going to go? I like to think it's actually going quite well.
I'm enjoying myself, mate. Absolutely, yeah.
But other than that, it's just a tool that you would use, and for me, I think it's brilliant. The best time to do it is probably at the back end of the day. So when you've had this busy day, you've been present in the moment, whether you were reacting or not. You sit back, you reflect, and you visualize, and you think, right, well, so you reflect back, and then you either make the tweaks and say, my day didn't exactly go the way I wanted it to. Well, you visualize what you want tomorrow to look like.
Yeah.
So, you know, is it going to be better than what today was, or was today a fucking great day that you think, right, well, today was a great, I want to do the same again, what did I do? But that's just on the basic level that, you know, sports is another prime example. You know, these athletes, these elite athletes that are at the top of their game did not get there by just reacting
Yes.
and just adjusting in the moment. They had to put themselves already in that position. And for me, it's just like, it's as simple as, if you want to move house and you don't know what it is yet, go and find the inspiration as to where do you actually want to move.
Yeah.
What's your budgeting plan? Go and look at different things that are going to create that spark. But then after that, it's like, actually picture yourself living in this area that you're going to go. Start to, because it's exciting in my eyes. Like, I feel as though there's
the
a
brain's
reward
powerful
to that you start to basically build your own confidence in your head, or again, the neurons that are in your brain, they'll start sparking up to a point that you become familiar with it before you've actually done it. Like, obviously our minds, and I'm not going too heavy on the science because I don't know an awful lot, but the perception between what's real and what's not, your brain doesn't really know the difference.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you visualize enough, then you're basically tricking your brain into thinking that you already have, or you've done what it is you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to sports, a prime example for me was playing American football. It's a lot of stop and start to the game, and I was the kick and punt returner. So as the huddle's getting set out and everything, I would maybe have up to like 1 to 2 minutes at the back of the field on my own, pressure on obviously all the crowd watching, because especially, it's not like rugby. If you just drop the ball, the play kind of still goes on, which it is. But if you fumble the ball, if you drop it, it's kind of a big deal. You just look like a massive dick, basically. So you don't want to drop the ball. But I'm like, right, so in that 2 minutes I was there, where were my thoughts?
Yes.
What was I doing? I wasn't just like, just kick the ball. I was thinking, right, once I get this ball, I'm going to the end zone. I mean, sometimes I would actually go a step further and say, I'm going to go to the left, the right. I'm going to go to the right.
Plan the strategy,
This is the strategy that the coaches told me. Catch the ball, follow this lane, do as you're told. I would do completely fucking opposite. I would just run around in circles, do high fives, jump, get tackled, get back up, keep going. But the objective was still the same. I visualized myself, scoring the touchdown. I wanted to be in the end zone, but I didn't just react in the moment. But like I said, this is just the basic steps through life. You don't have to be on a football field to do that. You can just put yourself in this.
It's like if you were going for like a job interview or something like that, how do you picture that job interview going? Do you sit there at night lying on your pillow going, this is going to go shit, I'm going to fuck this up, and that's most people. And they don't realize they have some sort of control over it.
Yeah.
Like, the more you practice that, it is a practice at the end of the day. The more you practice actually
they're visualizing without realizing they're doing it. They're just criticizing
that is what it is.
But
But if I'm lying on my pillow on a night time and I'm going, this podcast tomorrow is going to go shit, like, I haven't got questions, these questions are shit, and I'm doing all this. When it comes to the actual episode, it will be that, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then I'm like, because we want to be right. Our brains, we want to prove ourselves right. Yeah. So if I'm going, it's going to be shit, and it turns out shit, I was right. Like, but if I'm going there, you know what, it's going to go great. Me and Scott are going to get on really well. We're going to have a great chat. It's going to be a really deep episode. We're going to cover some amazing topics. We're going to go off on random fucking tangents and drink hype water. Like, that's what's going to happen. And that's what's happening right now, because I have that mindset where I know I've got to put myself in that better state of mind. Like, I cannot afford to think like shit.
But what I want to bring up here, especially now in this moment, in the fact that it doesn't, just because you visualize it doesn't mean it's always going to happen, which is understandable.
True,
Again, that's life.
You can't predict the future,
where it gives you a low blow, a curveball, whatever. And obviously this is where the resilience, the bounce back ability comes in. How you basically just say, right, it didn't work out this time, what can I do differently? I mean, I applied for a competition, which I entered to, basically the winner got investment to go towards their startup company. For me, it was this new, obviously, concept of the cans. And after you basically put a business plan together, submitted that, if you got selected, 6 finalists went to the final and had to do like a Dragon's Den style pitch.
Nice, okay.
Well, honestly, before I'd even submitted my business plan, I had started to build up this mental image in my head as to what I was going to do, how the room looked, the different type of judges that might be there. Like everything was like starting to come together and build it up. But it excited me, so I didn't mind letting myself drift off to the point that I'm like, I'm starting to build this. You don't even know if you've got it yet, Scott. You don't.
Yeah.
Even, but I'm like, this is what you're enjoying this process. So let it go. So.
But people do shut that down though, because they're like, oh, like it's not going to happen that way, and I'm going to be disappointed if it doesn't happen. It's like, well, you got one or two ways. You either think positive or you think like shit.
Well,
you get to choose that in that moment. So
exactly.
you might as well pick the one that could benefit you the most.
Well, unfortunately for me, I didn't get to the final. Like I found out on Thursday last week. They got the email to say, unfortunately it's not there. But I'm like, was it a low blow, curveball? Absolutely. But I didn't think like, oh well, that was pointless. What did I do all that visualization for, just for the sake of it? I'm like, no. So like, right, what's the alternative? I'm going to start visualizing and putting in the action steps, because that's also like, you don't want to get to the point where you're just visualizing and daydreaming. There's a difference between visualization and daydream. A lot of people do just daydream, you know what I mean? When I get this job, or when I get healthy, or when I get my new wife, it's like, well, now you just daydream, but what are you actually doing?
Yeah.
So this goes like, obviously this is kind of like, we're discussing the loop, as I would call it, the energy loop. It sort of comes back around to the motivation. It's like, what's your inspiration? Build up the vision of what it is you want. Right now you're starting to create something. You've got small momentum. Drive that into, this is your motivation to start taking the next steps.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of momentum and things like that, one of the things that can really build momentum is having structure and routine in your life. And I'm amazed, like after so many years of having quite a strict routine. Like I know when I train, I know what to eat, I know what I'm doing when I'm doing a podcast. I have a routine and a structure to my life. I'm amazed when I come across people that don't have a bedtime, don't have times when they eat. I'm like, so how do you make sure you get done what you need to do? Oh, if it happens, it happens. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, so how do you, for starters, prime your environment, and how important are structures and routines to you and the people you coach?
Well, I feel as though that word itself, structure, just strikes a lot of people off.
Yeah.
Like, well, fucking hell, if you're just living life in structure, they think you're just putting yourself in a box.
They think they're restricting your freedom. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and I get it. I do. I get it. It sounds quite heavy. Same with visualization. Like everything sounds like an effort. You've got to do the work up front when you don't know if you're guaranteed you're going to get the rewards. Like, which is understandable. So, but for me, it's like if you put the structure in place, if you start actually building that around your vision, then that can only help get you to where you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
But for me, structure, I'm exactly the same as yourself. I do like structure in my life, and for a long time, like I've just agreed with it in the sense that it works best for me. But when I read James Clear's book Atomic Habits, that obviously like sort of blew my head off in the fact that how we frame structure. And one of the lines is, he basically said that having structure and good habits and good routines in your life actually generates more time back.
Yeah.
Then you think, oh, freaking hell, like, you know what I mean? Like, and it makes so much sense. If you sort of plan out your days to what you're going to do, you don't just drift off doing random shit.
Aimless,
and then
pointless
think,
crap, yeah.
like, well, I've got no time for... And I mean, it's hard. Like, even in my own household, my wife, she's a lot less structured than I am. She's got one to a degree, but it's not to my level.
Yeah.
And we sometimes clash. Like, in a healthy way, because we talk about it.
Got to communicate, yeah, absolutely.
We're up front. We don't just bury it and think, oh, well, she's not doing this and I'm not doing that. So we try to talk as much as we can. But I have got quite a good structure in my life that I follow, like a system, but a routine. Like, and I don't necessarily like the word routine in the sense that, especially in the self-development, self-improvement, if you come to me and say, like, how we're going to improve, like, I would just... A prime example of routine for me is, I would say to somebody, when your alarm clock goes off first thing in the morning, let's presume you're going to work, you tell me every step that you need to take in order to get yourself out that front door, right? I need to get up, I brush my teeth, do this, that and the other. So everything's just like the basic routine tasks that you tick off, right? Whereas rituals, I like to say, right, well, if you want to improve your life, if providing that you feel as though you've got the time, where can we introduce rituals into our life. And what's a ritual to me? It's a sort of positive action. It's got meaning to what it is you actually want to do. So brushing your teeth for the sake of it, you get dressed for the sake of it, you get a shower for the sake of it, you go downstairs, you start prepping your meal to take to work for the sake of it. But journaling, just doing gratitude lists, meditating. I'm not saying I do all these because I don't.
Yeah, they're just options that you have. Yeah, absolutely.
Movement, bit of exercise, listen to music, go out, smell nature.
Get the sun on your skin is a good one that people.
Going back to what we were saying before about natural things that just shift your state.
It's simple things that people think it's like that's too simple. It wouldn't work for me.
Yeah,
you're human at the end of the day, aren't you? Like sunlight's good for you, man.
Yeah, so it's just. There's what I would. So if you can put maybe 2, potentially 3 rituals in your morning that encourage you, that is also structure in my eyes. That helps you keep that, because willpower is good. If you've got willpower, motivation, it drives you. That's brilliant. But even I know, and I've got some I'm my own biggest cheerleader. I'm the hype man.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can be depleted.
You can't rely on willpower.
So I'm like, well, what structure, what rituals do I have in place that encourage me and keep me on the right track? And again, I'm not trying to say I'm out there to be, the next president and whatnot. Because it sounds like,
I reckon you could do a better job.
Well, but the fact is that in order just to live a good life, a healthy life, a high energy life, or what your energy looks like, all of this, I honestly believe it matters, and it encourages you to keep on top of it. Whereas if you don't have them steps in place, it's far too easy just to drift off in, and again, I don't want to try to put it down that everyone's allowed to scroll social media. Don't feel bad about it.
I'm on it all the time.
If you structure it in, if you say, right, I'm not in the morning, I'm going to get up, I'm going to hold myself accountable. The first alarm that goes off, I'm up, I'm out, I'm going to do what I need to do. Maybe read a couple of pages of a book, go downstairs, do a bit of movement, exercise, whatnot, prep, everything. Once you've ticked all them boxes, if you've got 10 minutes to spare, feel free, crack on, do a bit of scrolling. But don't just reach for the phone straight away, fuck off all your rituals, and then wonder why you feel like shit driving to work.
Absolutely, yeah. I've actually got timers on my apps as well, so that I don't spend I think TikTok or something is or Facebook is 40 minutes a day, which sounds like not it sounds like not a lot, but it's when you sit on it in the timer comes up and I'm like, fuck, I've been on for 40 minutes, shit. You know what I mean? And it shuts off for the rest of the day.
From that point of view, you know what I mean?
I'm just, but do you know what I mean? That stops me, and that's something that I do now as part of my rituals. I set me timers on and whatnot. But so in terms of because obviously we've covered a lot of self-development topics, and one thing that I think people, because I've met a lot of people who get into the space and they get overly hyped and overly oh my god, I'm into self-development now. But one of the things that I used to do was I used to be really busy with self-development. And I used to really do all these rituals and things like that, which is the opposite, which is the other side of the coin. Is sometimes people get busy but not necessarily productive. I'm just curious where you sit on that line between busy and productive.
Yeah. Well, again, it comes back to what I was saying there. When you find your thing, when you find what sparks you, try and invest into that one thing, because it's far too easy that, and I've done it myself, especially trying to grow this brand, is, somebody will say, a prime example being a marketing strategy. I'm quite fresh, I'm quite new out of the box in terms of how I want to actually push this out there. And it's too easy for me to say, well, this guy's saying I should do this, that guy's saying I should do that.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, somebody else saying I should do
trends,
this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there is these are all different ways to do it. But I get carried away myself, as you say. It's and after a day of just looking at people telling me this is how you should push your brand out, I'm like, I've done nothing. I haven't actually done one step that's gonna push me towards that. So even right now as it stands, I am trying to put a bit of a strategy together, and I'm trying to tell myself that if I'm hoping I might get somebody local, like a social media strategist, and just lock in with them and say, as long as their vision and their values are in line with mine, and we feel as though we're a good fit, lock in and go for it.
Absolutely.
So it's go and find your thing, but don't become too scattered, as you say, it's too easy to say, I'll do a bit of this and I'll do a bit of that. It's like, so take a bit of time, if it takes a couple of days, a week or whatever. When you've identified that I want to improve my life, what it is, so you've identified that, go out and look for what fits, your model, and then do that work, and then after that, actually do what that model's telling you to do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just keep going around in circles.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love that. And I think as a final point to add to that, I think one of the things I've been playing with in my head at the minute is a concept of the hunter versus the architect. So I think I think you can lean more towards one than the other. Sometimes you'll flip between the two. But the hunter's the kind of person that's always starting up a new business or always finding the next fad or the next thing. They're out there hunting, they're looking for the next shiny thing. Whereas the architect's found one or two things and he's building. He's not just looking for the next fad or the hype thing. He's building. He's got structure, routine. He's going up and up and up. And I'm like, I just, like last week, I think I read it on Instagram or something actually, and I was like, I love that concept of like, because it made me think like, in my life, am I being an architect or am I being a hunter?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you'll flip between the two, but I'm like, at the minute, I'm fitting more into the architect side. I like to build something. I don't like to just go, oh, I'll start this podcast, I'll do this, and end up with nothing. You know, like, I've met so many people that have texted me like, well, we should do this charity boxing fight. I'm like, okay, let me know how that organization goes. Dead silent. Yeah. Oh, bro, can I come on the podcast? No. Or like, bro, like, I've got this new idea. I'm like, you just jump between things. Like, focus on one thing, build it, and then we'll talk. But I'm like, if you're just going to flip between ideas, I can't trust you. There's no structure. There's no reliability. Yeah. So that's a concept that I'm toying with at the minute. So, but in terms of the next thing I have for you, as a father, as a dad of two, what self-improvement and self-development lessons are you hoping to pass down to your kids? Like, how are you implementing it into their lives currently without it becoming dad's woo-woo bullshit?
Well, this is, again, it's a really hard and tricky question for me. It really is, because I've admitted to my wife that I do things differently from what I did 7 years ago.
Yeah.
But she's on board. It's not necessarily in a bad way. It's healthy for us, but it's different in the fact that my approach to things, and I really want to, embed that into my children, like all the good things that I feel like, all the golden nuggets.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, Eva's 7, Eben's 2, coming on 3. I just don't know when the best time is to start talking about certain elements. And like, I'm doing it, like we are doing things naturally now, and Eva's starting to really clock on as to what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and she's asking certain questions. But it is tricky for me, because I would go as far that I've even poisoned my mind with self-improvement. But
that's
I'll
an
use the
interesting way to
word
put it.
poison, like, lightly, in the fact that that sounds dangerous. But I'm like, I am. If somebody was to open me up, you'd just see a happy man dancing around. You know what I mean? Like that. I am in a good place that way. But it can seem poisonous to other people. It's just like, well,
do you mean because it's not normal?
It's like, this is what I'm trying to say. That for me, like, some people, they just honestly believe a normal life looks like what their life looks like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, have you asked yourself these 3 questions? No. Well, why don't you ask yourself these 3 questions and then just see what your life looks like then? If it's not any different, then crack on doing what you're doing. If it is, then you think, aha, right, there's something needs to change.
Yeah.
But I don't want to strip my kids of certain elements of, like, I feel as though up until my 30s, my life was good. So why can't I just give them the same advice as what I had, from then to 30?
A nice little bit of guidance.
Do I need to give them from 30 to 40 advice? But I'm like, well, yeah, I should, because I'm heavily invested into it. I want to do it.
Yeah.
But it's trying to find that right balance as to when to push it, what to push, what to do.
Yeah.
So
like round the dinner table, like, here, kids, drink it in a hype cans.
I mean, they get bashed every day with my natural energy just for being a dad and the love of being a big kid with them. Like, you know what I mean? So that's always there. Like, that's autopilot stuff that I'm consciously, but I want them to feel that. But like I say, there's just different aspects that me and my wife have spoke about, especially with Eva, when she gets to a certain level, we want to introduce different things. I just want her to have a better perspective on life,
Yeah.
is to be able to go and make the options, especially as we've said, everything being tech driven, that it's all just like this. I want her to be able to be consciously aware and make her decisions right, rather than being influenced and led down something just because. I mean, one example now is we don't let there's no telly on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Absolutely, like she Eva stopped asking a long time ago because she knows she doesn't get it. Thursday we let her have TV, but it's only Disney. And the reason,
solid choice, yeah.
well, for me, I love Disney. Like, I really do. I feel as though Disney's quite. It's got an inspirational spark. Not just the cartoons, the movie, and that, but the whole story around like Mr. Walt Disney and how he established himself. But it gives us. We know what they're watching. So if she's got a Disney movie on, I don't know, Cinderella, for example, we know she's watching Cinderella. We've seen it. We know that. Whereas if she says, I want to watch YouTube, which we let her have access to YouTube at the weekends. But even then, just because I've seen her watch or type in something, within 10 minutes, it's flicked to another thing and another thing and another thing.
Rabbit holes,
before you know it, she's watched 20 different episodes of this random shit. And I'm just like, it might
watching
be
Trump's best moments or something.
There you go. Do you know Donald Trump did it? I'm like, what the fuck?
Conspiracy theories. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
the Illuminati.
9/11, Dad.
Inside job.
What the fuck? But I just like, again, I'm like, I don't think that's good for any child, especially mine. So I'm like, no, I want to try and, balance. But that's only one aspect of it. That's just talking about the TV and what she's consuming there.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's all these other things that I want to introduce, but yeah, I'm still figuring that out. And I suppose if we do a podcast in another 3 years, we would see how it goes, especially with Eva, because at the age of, she's in the last year of infant school, and then she's going up to junior school, which I think is quite a big shift for them. Yeah. So yeah, we'll definitely have to.
It's a nice one, because I'm not a dad yet, but I'm sort of terrified to be one, because I'm like, how much am I going to push my kids to start squatting at age 2.5? You know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? I'm like, but I want them to get like more of a head start than I had. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I mean, I started development pretty young at like 18 when I got into like the books and the motivational stuff. But I'm like, imagine what you could achieve if you got into stuff a little bit earlier. And not like the deep stuff, but like just like little rituals, habits, things like that you were saying about the TV, influences, distractions, things like that, I think would be really nice to be able to raise them that way. And obviously, I don't think anyone will ever be a perfect parent. I don't think there's such a thing. But I think if you've got the right perspective and you can pass that down to your kids, I think it's a big deal, rather than just passing down the shit that you were brought up with. That, Well,
that's what I mean. But that's where it comes back to. I know that I had a healthy upbringing. It wasn't necessarily, if I had a real traumatized upbringing, then it's easy to say, right, I don't want any of my kids to, you could maybe enlighten them to say, like, look, this is how life was for me. I want you to go on different. But I never had that, to the point where it's like, oh, well, I don't want to teach them this, that. But I feel as though I struggle more, because I'm like, well, why teach them anything? Why don't you just do what you're doing and they can have? But I'm like, what? So, I mean, a prime example being Tony Robbins. I was listening to a podcast or something, and I think he said, I'm sure, don't quote me on it, but his 2-year-old daughter, because he's just had a new daughter, although he's a 60-odd-year-old bloke.
Yeah, I was going to say, his kid's getting on a bit, yeah.
He's managed to have in lockdown, so obviously people up to no good, and I think Mr. Tony Robbins himself must have, had some happy moments with his wife. But 2-year-old daughter, and he was trying to say that at that age she was already quite established in reading books. Whereas I look at my son, and it's far too easy to judge and go, Jesus Christ, he's reading books. Tony's, what's mine? Mine's still playing with toys and this, that, and the other. Yeah. But I don't want to get caught up in that. Just because somebody's doing this and somebody, but he's got a completely different structure and lifestyle built around how they are. He's a very established man in the fact that he could probably bring in all these private tutors and whatnot. Like, we don't have access to that.
You could also, at the highest level, be bullshitting too, because I've seen a lot of that. Like, my kid said this quote. It's like, did they really? Did they really? I haven't got any fucking teeth. Yeah. But actually, so we've talked a lot about your self-development journey. We've talked a lot about some deep topics and stuff, but we've also subtly mentioned these hype cans that are sitting on the table. So tell me about where the idea came from, what your plan is with them, and like the full sort of mythos behind it, I guess.
Yeah, no, definitely. So obviously I've been in the self-improvement space for fair number of years now. Obviously, I offer a service. I want to help people, exactly what we've been talking about, identifying what it is that they need to work on in order to sort of bring their energy levels up to live a better life. But that's when it goes back to, I felt as though that there was kind of like a stigma around self-improvement. This is where people just didn't know where to turn, that in a healthy aspect of a way. So started to dig in, ask the questions myself, like what can I do differently that other people aren't, that would actually make self-improvement more modern, aspirational, that people would want to, they'd see it and think, right, I want to be a part of that. That's a movement that looks good for me. That's a right fit.
Yes.
So it's a hell of a story in the sense that from figuring out that energy drinks, how they showcase it, that's what I want to do. That's what I want the brand image to sort of like focus on. But I just didn't want the ingredients. Right, what ingredients am I going to put in there? What's going to replace it? And I started to think, like, I love water. There's nothing better than, like natural spring water.
Yeah.
That gets me sort of like, it keeps me hydrated, it keeps me moving, keeps us going. But then it come that the self-doubt was sort of creeping in when I thought, right, well, I'm thinking about water, but I want to put it in a can, because I wanted the can aspect as well from like what the energy drinks have got. But then I was like, water in a can? I just don't know. But obviously went out there, done my research, found out, like, looking at things what like inspired me, looking down the right front, because there was a lot of shit out there saying canned water, nah, like definitely not going to work, especially if you're starting up. I could have easily got sucked into that, but I started looking at the people that had achieved success through it, and not like the ones that quite established now. I went back to their starter story as to like how they got to where it was. So I thought, right, well, this can work, you know what I mean? So I can bring that concept into it. But then it was going out there and actually finding people that I could work with, that could help me bring this thing to life. So,
because you did it was in like a 6-month period, right?
It was like,
between concept to market. That's a very short period of time.
It's quick, but again, because I think I've been in self-improvement space for quite some time, and it's like I really want to, because I honestly believe that if people see it in the right light, that it will help them improve. So it's like, how can I drive that message out there and get it out to people quicker? But in that space of 6 months, I was like, well, I'm not driving any message, because I'd sort of gone like radio silent, which I wanted to do, so I could focus on this. But it was like pulling my attention, thinking, well, I'm not getting the message out. I don't even know if this is going to work. I had the vision, but I'm like, I still don't know if it's going to work. I mean, it's still like a long way off it where I want it to be and how I want it to be.
But they look great though. Like I was reading it before and stuff.
Well, that was a big thing as well. It was just,
it's clean. It's clean. That's what I like about it. It looks,
well, minimalistic, sleek. And
that's sleek. Like, the sleek's a better word for it.
It looks like an energy drink. So for me, I would like, again, if it was in a shop, where would it sit on the shelf? It wouldn't sit next to an energy drink because it's not in that category, so it'd be sitting with the waters. So you've got your typical waters. This one would stand out. Hopefully automatically it would have people thinking that what curiosity would kick in. What is that exactly? Some people might dismiss it. Other people are like, I like this. I want to know more.
I could see them as being like a sponsor for like High Rocks and stuff like that. It's got that kind of vibe to it as well.
Well,
I like it. Like it's a badassery as well.
Never say never. I've done a High Rocks myself before, and Red Bull with a big sponsor. And at the end of it, when you finish there's your can of Red Bull or what have you. And I'm just like, why does it have to be Red Bull? Why can't it just be a nice refreshing...
Red Bull tastes like piss. I'm pretty sure it's designed to taste like piss as well. I can't stand it. Like, I see people necking them back, and I'm just like, ugh, nah. But I don't do energy drinks either, but like I would buy something like that from a shop because I think it looks nice and it looks like something that's like high quality. Do you know what I mean? Like I know what I'm getting. Whereas energy drinks, I'm like, could it taste like shit? Could it taste like horrible? But
I do like the fact that obviously when I first put it out there, I deliberately sort of made my video that you couldn't quite tell what it was. Obviously it says, premium spring water on it, but
so it's intentional that people have to pick it up to look at it.
On the video, a lot of people were reaching out like, what is this? I need to know what this is. But a lot of people thought it was an energy drink, and I'm like, well, I'm not out there to try and trick or confuse people. That's not the idea at all. But it's like, it's giving them the perception that I'm like, right, well, it's giving off that same sort of image that the energy drinks are doing, that means I'm you know, that checks that box.
Nah, I like it, man. I like it, man. So, what's the full end goal? Do you think, or like, what's the next step for these for you?
For this, well, as a whole, what I want to do it's bringing everything together. So I just sort of look at it as like a triangle. So you've got the brand image, which is the likes of what the big energy drinks are doing. So I want to put it out there. Just, you know, you can live that sort of lifestyle, just in a different way. You don't get it out of a can. You get it from doing, you know, self-improvement from this level. The cans themselves, I feel as though that's a good way. Like right now, this is a prime example, being able to come in and share this experience with you. It gives that physical product to go and hand out. So if I went to different events, it means I can, rather than just put myself forward all the time, which I'm happy to do, but this, you know, it can spread around the room quite quickly.
Absolutely,
and create awareness of what it is I'm trying to do. So it just helps build.
It's a nice visual reminder as well, like what we were saying as well. Like it's nice, like when you see it, you feel like you're having something that like if I'm working, for example, and I've got a Lucozade, it doesn't quite hit the same message, but if I can see the inner hype, I'm like, okay, like I feel like I'm in that zone of like.
Yeah, well, that's, I mean, obviously, it's a product, yes, but the actual major benefit, the key turning point, which obviously a lot of people won't know, and they'll dismiss it unless they're fully on board with what it is that I want to do or what self-improvement can do for you.
Yeah.
It actually acts as a psychological trigger.
Yes.
You know, as I've said, in the fact that you get up, you're wanting to shift your state, you just feeling that I'm not feeling it now. You go and get a can out. Yes, you crack it, you drink it. Like, you don't feel the instant of what's inside it, but it's already here. You just shift your energy towards, I'm going to have a good day, rather than trying to dwell on all the other stuff. But again, that's where that's the last sort of segment of the triangle is, you know, what we offer, me or other coaches, in terms of how we help you build your energy up. It's that reminder to keep doing what it is that we've put in place. So,
yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, there's because it's weirdly, because when I look at it, my first instinct was kind of like the same representing as what Huel is. You see the Huel's like sleek bottles and things like that, and they look nice to hold and to have on, you know, have on hand. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's a big dispenser, like a big vending machine of Huel. I think it's like an Edinburgh train station or something. I can imagine in a hype sort of these things in train stations and things like that. People like, it looks like, I don't know, like it's a nice thing to have there. Do you know what I mean? Like, I love that, man. I love that. But I have one final question for you, mate, which I don't know whether you've listened to a full episode before, but it's a question that I ask everyone on the show. You're leaning in intently for this. You can answer it however you want, but I'm always curious of people's answers, and everyone always surprises me. But it's quite simply, do you consider yourself a success?
Do I consider myself a success?
Yes.
I'm going to pause just to...
take a minute, because I get a lot of people, and I'll speak over this while you think about it, but I get a lot of people because, you know, some people come on and they've done, maybe they're like 20, 24, 25 or whatever, and they're like, fuck yeah, I am, or whatever, you know? Or I get someone who's maybe in their 40s or whatever, and they go, no, I don't, like, I've got this to do and this to do, but then you look back at their past and they've done so much, or they've achieved so much, but again, we said this at the beginning, we both think success is different for every individual, so it's interesting to hear what you think about your own life and your own success.
I know my answers are straight down, absolutely yes. Like, I do consider myself a huge success in what I've done. The reason I pause is the fact that, you know, that simple question that you just asked me, asking people, pulling somebody up on the street and saying, do you consider yourself a success? You can throw them sideways, you know, they're just absolutely, how can I answer that? But again, success, that word itself can get tied into financial gain. A lot of people think, oh, well, to be successful, you need to have XYZ that costs XYZ. It's like, absolutely not. Like, to me, if you can get up and look yourself in the mirror every day and be good and feel good about yourself, then, you know, what better feeling or version of success is than that?
Nice, man. I love that. So tell the people where they can find you, where can they follow you, and where can they get some of these cans?
Well, hopefully they can hear us. I mean, I've actually been quite quiet on this podcast.
No, I've been keeping an eye on the audio levels, mate. You're fine. You're fine.
Outside of here, I'm going to be shouting on top of the rooftops, like. So
if you see Scott on top of a rooftop with some cans, go buy one. Yeah.
If you can't, I'll throw one down at you. So. But if
Nice
you
one.
can't hear me, then obviously try and find me on just the likes of social media. I really am trying to ramp up that presence, get it out there. You know, as I've said, I've got different angles I want to try and do marketing-wise, but Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, just everywhere.
I'll
really.
put your Instagram on the screen as well for anyone watching, so I'll put it in the description as well. But mate, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you for making the journey. I've enjoyed it. I think as an episode, I think we've gone really deep on some topics that I haven't actually probably discussed for a while, because it was an episode that I really wanted to go deep into self-development, and especially for maybe it's people who've been in it for a while, or maybe it's people who are new to it. And I'm hoping we've done it justice. I don't know what you think. Do you think we've done it justice? Do you think we've done the self-improvement world justice today?
What was that?
Do you think we've done it justice today?
Oh, 100%. I mean, like I said, just covering the basis of what self-development is without getting too deep is enough to bring people's peak awareness to a level
Absolutely, yeah.
you know, and hopefully, the people are going to go out there and just take the small nuggets out of it and improve their life.
Yeah, man. I love it. Absolutely. Well, guys, be sure to go and follow Scott on everything, and be sure to find these Inner Hype cans as well. I think I'm going to push for what do you call it? Promotion? Someone promotes the podcast. Yeah, that's what we're going to call it. But as usual, guys, go follow Scott on everything he does. I'll put his Instagram in the description of this, as well as on the screen if you're watching this. And as always, go rate the podcast 5-star. No 4 stars, right, Scott? 5 stars only. That's what we want. Only. 4 stars. 4 stars are just one extra star. One extra star, because it really does push us to new audiences and makes me feel good about life. But until the next episode, guys, look after yourselves. Take care, and we will see you very, very soon.